Yeah. So I think, for most of us, and to speak to your point, we don't come into life disconnected,
Hmm.
yet we are so impacted by those earliest
Hmm.
experiences because we are so open, so receptive as children, and also so developmentally dependent
Hmm.
on the world around us. Quite literally, we can't keep ourselves alive as a human infant. We need to be a part of a relationship. And
Hmm.
in addition to that, and the reason why I'm often sharing the science to speak to your very beautifully made point is for a lot of us, it can relieve us of the shame when we talk about the physiology,
Yeah.
when we talk about the neurobiology, when we talk about the reality that when we're in that developmental stage of dependency in childhood, our nervous system is actually still being developed.
Hmm.
Actually, up until our mid to late 20s, our nervous system is still forming, which to me,
Yeah.
really illustrates the impact
Yeah.
of these early environments, particularly around our ability to deal with our stress
Yeah.
or our
Mhm.
emotions. And the reality for the large majority of us, even those that had physically present, very well intentioned caregivers,
Mhm.
we are all raised by humans that were impacted by the humans that
Mhm.
raised
Yeah.
them. And when we think about, when we think through the generations of different stresses that happen, to get to your question now of why are we so disconnected? When
Mhm.
we think about external stress, even just humans and as our species evolve,
Yeah.
life now, I mean, I've lived my whole life except for now where I'm living in a city, like concrete,
Oh.
loud noises, so far from the plains, the hunting and gathering,
Mhm.
the very calmer type existence while we had different things to fear, there
Mhm.
wasn't stress outside of our
Wow.
windows. And then when we think about all of the different degrees of influence with things that have happened,
Mhm.
to different cultures, to different, races out throughout the eons, really, we're talking again about a very real impact that can be passed through generations, that can
Yeah.
live literally in our biology.
Yes.
So we, in terms again of not only how are we dealing with stress, how are we relating to other people? So now we go back as a child in a state of dependency in an environment that we can't change, right? An environment that's going to really determine how I can regulate my emotions. What is the relationship I will have with my emotions, with myself, and
Mhm.
ultimately with expressing that emotional self to other people? And
Mhm.
again, a lot of us, for different reasons, depending on who our caregivers were, where we grew up, what circumstances were happening around us, our stresses are extremely
Yep.
high. And very few of us have had that attuned caregiver that can model emotional resilience, which
Right.
is simply dealing with stressful emotions, stressful happenings, and keeping ourselves safe, keeping ourselves balanced in our responses.
Yeah.
And when we don't have that, right, we can carry the impact of what that is the trauma in our mind and in our bodies. And until we become conscious of
Mhm.
that, this is one of the main causes of our stuckness.
Mhm.
All of this dysregulation, all of this overwhelming stress without enough resources to cope with it, uh, the stress itself lives in our mind and our body and
Yeah.
continues to impact then our habitual ways of being. So much so that, like a blinded horse, we don't even realize that how we're reacting, how we're being in the world, maybe how we're relating to others isn't actually who we
Yeah.
really are. It's
Yeah.
an
Absolutely.
adaptation, right? That came from our environment, but it doesn't really match
Right.
what is beneath all of that. So my goal again is, and the reason why I love that you like the science as well, is to give people the understanding, the underlying reason,
Mhm.
because typically there is a reason. However it is, wherever it is that you're feeling stuck, even if it isn't, for me, anxiety, right?
Sure.
Anxiety became my stuck point for a very long time.
Yeah.
There usually is an underlying cause, and a cause that might allow you to create change, meaning it might be something in your
Yeah.
environment. There might be a tool that you can use for your body. And the whole first part of the workbook
Yeah.
gives a lot of grounding tools,
Yeah.
breath work tools, ways to attune to what's
Mhm.
happening here now and create safety in what's happening here now.
Mhm.
Because a lot of us, again, are carrying the lack of safety from our past environments and we're recreating it in our current.
Yes, and thank you so much for all of that. That was so helpful. I just want to address the audience really quick. Yes, we're absolutely saving this live as we always do. We clean it up, we get it edited so it's easy for you. We have, we take notes and the team puts it together so the content is available for you guys. Sometimes it takes us a couple extra days. But it will be there. And of course, all of this content is in the book. And it's also in Dr. Nicole's first book, How to Do the Work, and also on all of her social platforms. Um, it's so generous what you've done and that you continue to do. And so, for those of you that are having struggling, there are free resources, and then there's also resources in this amazing book that everyone needs. So, just wanted to say thank you to everyone. People have been really supportive in the comments. So, thank you for those supportive comments for both of us. There are tons of questions I think people would love to ask. And one of them that has come through, I sometimes have questions come through before live, and it's just, and also just to address what you're saying about how sometimes we're not even aware of where we pull our stress from. Just that we sort of see our model of the world is influenced by how we're raised in our environment, right? So we often adopt the model of the world through the lens of how our parents see the model of the world, which is also somewhat adopted from their parents' experience too. So there's almost this lineage sometimes